Good morning. You're listening to Table for Two with Naomi Nachman on the Nachum Segal Network. Our show is sponsored by Natural and Kosher Cheeses, when quality and flavor matter. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Naomi Nachman, and I'm about all the food all the time. I love food. I love shopping for it, cooking it, eating at restaurants, anything food related. I'm a kosher personal chef. My business is called the Aussie Gourmet. I give cooking classes, run chop competitions, cater for people for Shabbos, Yom Tov, Shavuos. Anytime you don't feel like cooking, you can give me a call. I hope you'll tune in every week and hear about my exciting cooking adventures, my amazing guests, and sharing of great recipes and food experiences too. But I want this to be a conversation, so email me, naomi@nachumsegal.com, and let me hear about what you're up to and what recipes you ate at, recipes you made and restaurants you ate at. So I'm very excited to hear from everyone. We are back in the hot seat today. It's the couple of days after Pesach. We are very excited to be back here. ZK and I had a little reunion today. We haven't seen each other in about, 3 weeks. We recorded our last show together. So we are back in the studio, back here on the Lower East Side. And we're just going to have an amazing show lined up today. We have two guests. We have Yossi Horowitz from Yossi's Corkboard. He was on the show just a couple of weeks ago, but he was so entertaining and so engaging. And I said, I got to have him back for our big show after Pesach, for our spring premiere. And also one of my favorite chefs, one of my favorite restaurants, Fireside in Muncie. I have Chef Alex am I saying it right? Remer or Remer?
Yeah, Remer.
Remer, but it's spelt Remer, right? Remer. Well, everything sounds weird with my accent. Right. So I want to do a bit of a Pesach roundup before we continue with the show. There were two fantastic restaurants that I want to give a shout out to. Zach the Baker. Yes, Zach the Baker. I love their food. They were fabulous. I went there Erev Chag, and right after the Chag, the Monday. I came back Monday night after the Chag. So I went Monday for lunch. We had a 40-minute wait in the hot sun. They actually gave out umbrellas, which was so cute. Zach came out and spoke to everyone. I was like a little starstruck. I took a picture with him. I put on Facebook. He has amazing breads and sourdough breads, but it's what he put on them. He had like incredible food. Please go onto my Instagram page and have a look at the avocado toast that I put up, which was unbelievable. And I also want to give a big shout out to Soho Asian Bar and Grill. Surprising find. I don't know if you had been there, but really well priced. We ate outside, so it was beautiful. It was like 6 o'clock at night. It was beautiful to sit outside. And the food was like terrific. Like we had pad thai. They had this summer chicken salad that was piled really high, massive, really good value, really good flavors. So that was a very nice find. And, of course, I must give a shout-out. I didn't have it on my notes, but Yossi and I actually spoke about this. 26 Tapas and Sushi, always a favorite, always good. Every time, actually, when the chef heard I was there, he sent out a complimentary sushi tasting menu for my family. So it was really amazing. We had a great time there. And, of course, my friend Chef David from Harborside Grill, their charcuterie. If you are down in Florida, you must go try the charcuterie. It's nothing like I've ever had before. And as you know, I'm a big charcuterie fan, so I love that. One more final talk about Pesach is I was on the VIP Ram Pesach program. It was absolute magic. The Doral, the Trump National Doral was beautiful. The food was unbelievable. If you've seen from my Instagram pages or my Facebook pages, I just want to thank Simon Aubach, Stuart Morgenstern, Paul Glasser, Barry Semanowitz, Faye Gerdelman, especially to Faye for helping put everything together. My entire team that helped me, Marianne, Mike, and Matt, who are always there to help me from RAM, VIP RAM. So really, it was an incredible program. They excelled. I thought after last year's program, it could not be better. It was through the roof this year, like really through the roof, from the tea room to the meals, and of course Hashem provided us with beautiful weather, and I gave 13 cooking demos. I think I spoke more than the rabbis. So More than the Duff Yomis, because, there was only 8 or 9 of those. Depends how long you were there for. I did 13 classes. So really a big thank you to the entire team of VIP Ram. So I think I've spoken enough monologue. It is time to turn to my amazing guests. Now, you see a whole lot of things going on. If you're watching on our YouTube channel on Nachum Segal Net, you will be able to watch our show. And today's actually a very exciting show because Yossi has actually bought in a sous vide machine. We've spoken about it with Yosef Silva, but we tried to describe it. But you can't really describe it unless you see it in action. So we're going to welcome onto our show Yossi, and then Alex is going to join us in a little bit. How's it going?
All good. Before I get into the sous vide, I wanted to totally second what you said about sushi, about 26 Sushi and Tapas. By far and above the best restaurant I've ever been to in Miami. It was so good that we went there for dinner, and we were so amazed by both the quality of food, the service, the friendliness, the knowledge about each and every dish, that we went back the next day for lunch and for dinner again. And
you went there 3 times.
I did in 2 days.
I love that you did that.
And pretty much I think we went through everything on the menu, and it really was just an incredible experience. Mostly fish, made in many, many different ways. It's a Peruvian-style restaurant.
Right. What does that mean, Peruvian style, for our listeners who are not familiar?
Well, just based on the type of food, a lot of ceviche, cured fish cured in lemon juice or other acids. And it was a lot of foods that I hadn't had before, a lot of flavors and things that I had before. And I'd say over the 3 meals that I had there, we tried probably 47 different dishes. And the only one, as shocking as it may be, the only one that I thought felt a little bit flat, still good, but fell a little bit flat, were 2 of the desserts, which, in a dairy restaurant is not what you would expect. But for those of you who are scared of eating raw fish or ceviche, they do have some of the best mozzarella sticks I've ever tasted in my life. They obviously don't call them that, but that's effectively what they are.
Right. Fried cheese.
And it was really just an unbelievable experience. It was unfortunate. I felt that many of the other restaurants right before Pesach were jam-packed and people couldn't get reservations at them. While this restaurant had plenty of seats and tables. I
was surprised I could get a table for it's for Florida's best restaurant.
I think people just, when they go out to eat, they want to have a big steak and large portions, and people are still unfamiliar or uncomfortable with things that they haven't tried before. And there weren't a lot of fail-safes at this restaurant. It wasn't like you go there and try one dish that you don't want and then order the chicken fingers or the hot dogs or something that you've heard of before. So anybody going down to Florida, frankly, even if you're not going down to Florida, get on a plane, drive there. It will be totally worth your time, and I look forward to many more meals there.
It's really cool about Surfside. When I met with, I can't not remember Chef David's last name. I'm drawing a blank. It's a Spanish last name. He's a Jewish guy. He came from Colombia. He made Aliyah and then made his way to Miami. He's a very, very talented chef. So he's the chef at Harborside Grill, and he took me around. Oh, that's mine. Sorry. I'm thinking of my phone. I put on silent. And he said 2 years ago, there were 2 or 3 restaurants in Harborside. Now there are... Surfside. Now there are 9.
Yep.
That whole area is flooded with restaurants.
And out where Zach the Baker is, obviously Zach's an incredible chef. He actually cooked with Solomonov at the South Beach
Did you
Food
go to
Festival.
that?
I did not. I know you did.
No, I did not.
You did not either.
I did not. The only person I know that went was Shlomi Klein from Joy of Kosher. I like to have gone to that. I don't think I realized how big it was.
But anyways, so I just wanted to agree with that. I was pretty excited about that. It's very rare for me to go to a restaurant and like
be blown
everything
away
on the dish and then go back the next day twice.
Right. But Zach the Baker was crazy. Were you there before Yom Tov?
Yeah, I've been there. I've been to Zach
So he
before.
changed his menu.
Yeah, I know.
He changed his menu. I had all these like weird things on my toast, on my avocado toasts. I'm just.
I think ultimately what so I mean when we should I don't want to take up too much time talking about Miami since people probably won't be there till next year Pesach or at least till winter break. But I think what people are particularly
I'm just holding.
What people don't realize is that what's so great about some of these restaurants that we've talked about or other ones is that they're people who are careful with what they do. They're meticulous. They're meticulous about the freshness about the food, about the quality of the food, and understand how the flavors work together. And like what Zach does is not particularly out of this world, but he has the freshest ingredients, and he is on top of everything that happens in his restaurant, and the results are very obvious.
I don't know where this is. I just held up the Instagram picture they put up to the screen, but it was Pickled Agi, AGI. I never heard of that before. Dolce Romesco on country wheat with avocado on top.
Right. So it's an understanding about the flavors, and I think when restaurant owners or chefs, their goal is to make good food and serve it to the customer and have the customer enjoy it, the restaurant is a success. When the primary goal is to make money or to squeeze out as much as you can in a understandably very tough business to succeed in, I think that also speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And I think I would like to see more people, and I think more and more people are, focus on the quality of the food, the quality of the dishes, and I believe that the customers are beginning to appreciate that more and more.
Absolutely. As the food industry just continues to grow, I'm sure Alex feels the same way.
I hope.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about what we've got going in front of us here.
So sous vide has been around for probably about, I want to say 10 years, but not in the restaurant business.
What does sous vide mean?
So it means cooking with vacuum.
There you go.
And basically what it is cooking food in hot water.
Different than poaching or boiling?
Very different than poaching or boiling.
How so?
So in a nutshell, what you do is you take whatever food it is that you wanted to cook, and not all foods are suitable for sous vide, but most are. And whether it's meat, poultry, fish, vegetables, eggs, you vacuum pack it in a bag, and you shouldn't be scared by the concept of vacuum packing, because for the first probably 6 or 8 months that I was cooking with sous vide, I was taking Ziploc bags and sucking out the air and putting it in, and that's not exactly vacuum packed, and you need to weigh it down, otherwise it floats to the top. But that's served perfectly fine. You put the food in a bag, you season, and there are a lot of different variations. And again, depending on what you cook, you sear it before you sous vide it, you sear it after you sous vide it, you season it before, after. You put it in the bag, you cook it for a certain amount of time at a certain temperature. Then you pull it out and you eat it, and that's it. And machines used to be $10,000-$15,000. Their official name is an immersion circulator, which, as its name would indicate, is you immerse the food in water. And the machine, which if you're watching, you can see here, is just a stick, which is stuck in a regular crock pot or stock pot with water in it, and it just circulates the water and it maintains a constant temperature at whatever temperature you want. We happen to be cooking steak here today.
Yummy.
I actually cooked it last night in preparation for the show because.
What do you mean you cooked it? So walk us through that process.
So as with anything you make, you have to start with a good piece of meat. Okay, right. You should not be buying the third of an inch steaks that are at your local supermarket and sous videing them, because you could put them on the grill or on your skillet, and in 3 minutes they'll be done, assuming you eat it at a normal temperature of rare or medium rare or medium. I mean, beyond that, you
should just eat your
probably
shoes.
Should eat other things like chicken or cardboard or something like that. But assuming you're interested in...
This is why I have him back. This is why he's going to be back.
Assuming you're interested, you start with a really good piece of meat. I tend to get... We happen to today be cooking a ribeye, a 2-inch ribeye, which is pretty thick and is probably suitable for 2 people. I wouldn't go below an inch. I think 1.5 inches is preferable, but everybody has their own preferences. You want to get a well-marbled piece of meat that has, lines of fat running through it, because that melts down into the meat and makes it more tender and flavorful. And really what I do at least, is I'll season it with salt, a lot of salt.
Kosher salt, of course.
Usually kosher salt. Rub it in, put it in the Ziploc bag, regular Ziploc bag, suck out the air, or let my kids do it. They find it very entertaining. I usually will double bag it just in case, because you don't want any water to actually come in contact with the meat. And then you just drop it in a pot filled with water. I use these polycarbonate, plastic polycarbonate boxes, because they're bigger and you can have more in it. But again, if you have a stock pot, 10 inches high, 12 inches high, you just use that. You fill it halfway with water, or 3/4 of the way with water.
Yeah,
and then you stick your sous vide in. You hook it up to the end of the
So this
pot.
is this black thing here that we've attached.
Yeah, so this is the sous vide.
Can we get a close up on that, ZK?
Sure. This is the sous vide machine, which is really literally just a stick with a control panel at the top and a metal bottom that has holes in it to circulate the air. and something that hooks onto the pot or to whatever it is that you're using to cook it, whether it's the polycarbonate container or what have you. Plug it in, and then you set the time and the temperature.
Yeah.
And you're good to go, and you put it in for as long as you want. I tend to cook. Now again,
is it like low and slow?
It's basically low and slow. Yes, it's basically low and slow. The primary advantage, let's say for meat, when you cook sous vide, is that you get a constant temperature throughout the meat. So if you want, I'm cooking this steak at again, I'm really just bringing it back up to temperature. I cooked it last night for 4 hours.
It's not a quick method of cooking.
Well, so this is a 2-inch ribeye that I pulled out straight from the freezer when I got home from work, so it needed more time.
Okay.
One of the great things about sous vide is you can wake up in the morning, take your steak out of the freezer, drop it in the sous vide machine, set it to go for 10 hours, come back at home, and the steak is ready to go. You take it out, you put it on this cast iron skillet for a minute or two on each side just to sear it, and you have dinner.
So with sous vide cooking, from what I'm hearing from you, I mean, probably you wouldn't need to do it with fish, but if you're cooking chicken or meat, you need to sear it afterwards. So it gives it
it doesn't...
Maillard? What's it?
Maillard reaction for caramelize. Yeah, so you need to caramelize it if you want. Some like a brisket, you don't necessarily have to do that. One of the things that a lot of people do, some people do, is they'll add like some sort of soy marinade if they're doing a brisket, only because the color could sometimes be a little bit unappetizing. It could actually come out looking a tiny bit gray just because of the way it was cooked. It's not gray meat or anything like that, but it could some. I mean, I've done veal tongue, and some things come out looking like different than what people are used to. But the thing is, and as we'll see when we cut the steak open, the difference is when you cook a steak in an oven or on a grill is that because it's outside heat and it's high heat usually to grill, then the outside then there's a gradation from the center outwards of different doneness. Right. So you want that sear on the outside because that really adds a huge amount of flavor to the steak.
Right.
But what you really want is you want the same doneness from end to end. And that is really what you can achieve in sous vide. And another thing is you don't have to babysit the meat, right? You know, I use sous vide a lot, but at my Rosh Chodesh Club, which is these monthly get-togethers we do every Rosh Chodesh for wine lovers, I do a lot of sous vide cooking for that. But last month it was our 3rd anniversary, and I prepared a 7-rib rib roast, like a full rib roast. I did boneless, and it wouldn't fit in the sous vide, and also I cooked it in the oven on low and slow. And I was at work because I have a day job, and I was calling my housekeeper every hour to take the meat thermometer and check the inside and the outside, and then you turn off the oven to let the inside catch up to the outside. And it came out amazingly cooked and perfectly cooked through and through. I can show you a picture if you're interested, but it was a lot of babysitting. Right. This, you take a piece of meat, flat iron steak, minute roast, marrow bones, duck, steaks. You take it, like I said, you want to make a steak for dinner. You take it out in the morning, you drop it from the freezer.
With no seasoning.
You don't have. It's better to season it before, so you could open it, salt it, and then vacuum it, or not. Or this steak I happen to season after. You definitely don't want the pepper because the pepper can burn when you sear it. If you're going to sear it, it's better to do the pepper on after.
After, okay.
That's just my opinion. Alex might have a different view, and I'm sure many people, everybody. I mean, we're all Jews. We have
lots of different
views about everything.
Yeah.
But I found you just salt it, put it back in the bag, drop it in the sous vide, set it for 10 hours, and you come home from work. You open the bag, you dab it dry. You put a little bit of non-flavor, peanut oil or something like that. I mean, some people use olive oil. Not a big fan of olive oil on my steaks, but you can use really any flavorless oil. With a high smoke point is better. Add a little bit more salt, cast iron for a few minutes, and there's dinner. And it could just sit in the water all day long. I mean, when I make sous vide ribs, 72-hour ribs. Put it in for 72 hours. So you have it
3.
Sitting in the pot.
That's 3 days, right? 4
days?
3 days?
3 days. For 3 days. And then it really cooks it all the way through, and it's just amazing. And this is a great thing for Shabbos, right? You can cook it. I mean, the halacha, I can't really talk about. No, cholent is not. It doesn't really work.
I know someone who did sous vide cholent.
I've never done it. I'm sure it could be done, but it's not.
You're a Schloss from Chassid and Hipster. He did a cholent in a sous vide.
I do know him. I don't know. I'm not all the way down with the halachic implications of use. I mean, I have the sous vide run over Shabbos. But I've never taken food out of it on Shabbos and used it on Shabbos. But if depending on what the halachic
It's
ramifications are.
interesting. You'd have to really give the rabbis a proper lesson on what it is, because I don't think they know what
I mean,
it
the
is.
temperature doesn't change when you take things in and out of it, which is one of the primary issues.
Right.
So that I know there are people who have reputable halachic approval to use it on Shabbat. I don't,
so
and my wife's not very adventurous, so I'm the primary user at home of the sous vide machine. But I mentioned eggs earlier. Eggs are another thing. Like
Yeah, we were originally going to do eggs on the show because we thought.
But I thought that doing something a little bit more attainable or easier. The great thing about sous vide is its precision, right?
Right.
You're cooking at an exact temperature for an exact amount of time, and you don't have to watch it. You don't have to maintain it. You don't have to use a meat thermometer or any of those things. And eggs are one of those things where you can cook a perfect poached egg all the time, every time. You want to get, I made steak tartare a few months ago, and we had perfectly the exact right temperature for the right time. And there are many websites. Serious Eats is a great resource for sous vide stuff. And you can pick. They actually have on the website. They have a video that you can pick the consistency of the yolk that you want, and it will tell you exactly
how to program
it and how long. It's really awesome, and it's great. And who doesn't like a perfectly runny egg on top of pretty much anything?
Pretty much anything. I did a cooking class at my Pesach program on how to make poached eggs. It's actually a skill.
It's a good thing that we didn't have this show before it, because nobody would have come to the cooking
That's
class.
right. And I had everyone, like, we got the water right, we got the vinegar, you had to make the swirl, I had to teach them how to put you put the egg into a ramekin, and in the middle of the whirlpool that you swirl the water with, that's where the egg goes, and it makes this beautifully rounded.
So you can
poached
do that.
Eggs.
Somebody with zero cooking talent who can just follow directions can make a perfectly cooked poached egg over and over and over again using the sous vide machine. I put the eggs in their shells, not even in a bag, just drop them in, cook them for the right amount of time, and then hold
You crack
them
an egg into a bag and then pop it.
No. Don't crack it. Cooks in its shell.
Oh, so you don't even need
You don't need a bag or anything. You just put the eggs directly in there. And some people still put them in eggs because, again, this is a halakhic issue. You should consult your local rabbi. There's a question about whether this needs to be toveled, and it can't really be toveled, but it's cooking. So there are different questions about that. So some people
Can't you tovel like half of it?
Again, I'm not a rabbinic authority, and I'm not, I don't want to give any.
We're not
halakhic,
paskening here on Table for Two.
Right. I'm certainly not paskening. I mean,
this is so cool.
So just to finish what we did here is that we cooked it. I cooked it last night. I came home, salted it. I didn't even salt it. I put it straight in the sous vide machine in a vacuum. I happen to use one of those Food Saver vacuum packs. The primary difference between using a vacuum and sucking it out of a Ziploc bag is that you ensure that it's really vacuum packed, and thus it sinks to the bottom and you don't have to weigh it down. If you try and suck it out like I did here, because I didn't bring my Food Saver to the studio, you need to weigh it down so it stays at the bottom of the pot. Otherwise, even a little bit of air will cause it to rise.
So we're just warming this.
I just put it back in this morning because I pulled it out of the fridge. But what I did is 4 hours, because it was frozen solid, and it's probably a little bit over 2 inches thick. So I did it for 4 hours at 128, which is medium rare. Pulled it out. I had my cast iron. I put it in the oven.
Cast iron skillets.
I put it in the oven at 550 while it was cooking, just to have a uniform heat throughout. And then I took it out. I put it on high heat.
Wait, you preheated your.
I always I always put it in for like half an hour at 550. The cast iron to get it, so that way you're ensuring
even just for sous vide or cooking with it in general.
I always do it that way. You know that it's uniformly hot throughout and it's consistently hot throughout. You take it out and then it's ready to go at 550. Put it on the oven, sear it all around, and off to the races.
There's nothing better than cast iron cooking. I started making chili in it. Gives it a whole different flavor. Do you feel that, Alex?
Yeah, we use cast iron.
I love it.
Cast iron.
Right.
Could I just mention one thing?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Chef Alex, Fireside in Monty, joining us.
Of course.
Hi, everybody. If you're using the Ziploc bags, you can also just get a large pot of water and submerge the bag with the food in it, and the water pressure will push the air out.
Water pressure to Ziploc to do it shut.
To have the vacuum effect.
Yeah. Doesn't you're a professional. I'm sure you can do that. I have yet to succeed perfect vacuum that way. But yes, immersing it in as the water comes up is a good way to do it. My kids like to suck the air out, and turn blue in the face.
Whatever works,
but just to be clear, it's not just steak. Vegetables, carrots, asparagus come out amazing.
Asparagus,
in the sous vide machine. Chicken. I made what's called meat cut salmon, which is half cooked salmon. 45 minutes. I brined it and then plopped it in the machine for 45 minutes. Took it out. dumped it in an ice bath, and it was the best piece of salmon I've ever had in my entire life. There's an immense amount of things that you can do with sous vide, and it's very easy, and you should not be intimidated. The machine itself, I'm using what's an Anova, so there are two versions. I was telling the people in the studio earlier.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, where do we get this from?
So personally, everything I own and buy comes from Amazon. So
because he lives in Manhattan.
well, no, I mean I was an early investor, so I like to support myself. But and it's just convenience.
Good for you.
But the Anova is an amazing. This was what I'm using is the first version of it. The second version of it is fancier. It's got a Bluetooth. You can activate it from outside the home and get it started. So there's an attractive.
Sounds like my car.
But I have not found it to be as reliable in maintaining the right temperature as the old one. And so I went out and I was telling the people earlier, I bought a bunch of these on eBay. I think I paid about $100. I think you could probably get this one for probably $150. Either the new version or the older version. I would recommend this one. There are a lot of different ones. Just look up, use the power of Google and look for recommendations and things like that, and you'll find the right one. I happen to love giving these as gifts. If you're ever in a situation where you have to give a hostess gift to somebody who you want to spend, $100, $150 on a gift, it's very hard to find something for somebody who really has everything. And I found that for people interested in food, this is a phenomenal gift. It's not really penetrated the mainstream yet, but it's very easy to use. It's interesting.
You wouldn't give it as a bridal shower present because the bride would be like, Mom,
I would.
What do I do with this?
You got to know your friends and you got to know your audience. But, I have a little vellum-bound book of a bunch of recipes and instructions and ways to cook that I've printed off the internet in nice color. And I've had nothing but success. I mean, I guess nobody's really going to call me up and say that was a terrible gift you gave me, but people actually use it, so it's a great gift.
You've had feedback.
I've had good feedback, and I own 2 or 3 of them that I use on a regular basis because depending what you're cooking, different times, different temperatures, but you can make like a whole meal just out of sous vide, and totally recommend it. And
but you would put the asparagus in a different bag if you were doing steak and asparagus. You just pull the asparagus out much earlier.
Well, it depends. It depends on the temperature. Different things get cooked at different temperatures. And I cooked bone marrow in the sous vide machine at 158.
The bones.
The bones in the vacuum pack, put them in the sous vide machine for an hour at 158. Then I took them out, seasoned them with salt, and then finished them under the broiler for a few minutes just to get the caramelization.
Oh my God! When I was young, I thought bone marrow was the most disgusting thing on the planet. Now it looks so good.
It is very good. So you can do, that's why I have a number of them because some things you do different things at different temperatures, and you don't want to over or undercook things. But follow the recipes online and find what works for you.
It's so.
But I highly recommend it. Do not be intimidated by it.
I'm intimidated.
It's beyond.
I'm totally intimidated.
It's beyond easy. I will lend you mine. You can play with it for as long as you want.
I want to do duck breast for Shabbos. How would I do duck breast?
I mean, honestly, the best duck breast I've had is smoked in the green egg. So if you have one of those, I highly recommend using it.
A what?
A green egg, which is a big smoker. I tried smoking them at home.
I don't do the smoking. I have so many friends that will smoke for me.
I smoked food. I mean, I live in a Manhattan apartment, so I smoked it on my oven top. I thought the house smelled amazing for 4 days. One of my children agreed with me, and the rest of my family was not happy with the results. So
can you do duck breast on a cast iron skillet?
You can do anything on a cast iron skillet.
I'm going to try that. Yeah, you got me thinking, everyone. You know what I'm going to be doing when I go home today.
I mean, the person sitting next to me is supremely more qualified than I am to answer these questions. I think if you brine the duck breast a little bit beforehand, it tends to be good, but I'm sure he can be helpful with that. So I don't know, do you want to take it out and see how it turned out?
Let's have a look. Let's
have some wine with it.
Wine and food, and then we're going to switch talking to Alex.
The wine I brought this time is...
a Dolce.
I mean, when you eat a 2.5 inch steak, you really need a big wine with it. You need a wine that has a lot of tannins, that's chewy, that's big and bold, to match with the fat and the meat. What I brought, I mean, it's post Pesach, and in my apartment I only have room for my wine fridge, which holds about 200 bottles, but it's a little bit depleted, so I had a limit of availability. But what I decided to bring today was the Dalton. Dalton's a great winery up in the northern Galilee of Israel. They tend to make a lot of wines that provide great QPR, quality price ratio.
I just learned about that. Yep.
And what I brought today was they have a single vineyard Shiraz. Single vineyard just means that all of the grapes come from a single vineyard in one locality. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a better wine or a not worse wine, but it means that it provides some insight into the quality of the terroir, which is the land in which it's grown. And
the taste of the land.
Exactly. And this is a 2011. And one of the reasons I decided to bring it is what happens is there are a lot of really great wines out there, a lot of expensive wines out there, and a lot of people, they'll go to the store and they'll buy, they'll have a special occasion, or they'll just want to splurge and they'll buy, a really expensive wine. They'll take it home, they'll open it for Kiddush, they'll pour it, and they won't like it because the wine needs to breathe.
Also, they have it for Kiddush in a metal Kiddush cup.
Well, I mean,
don't try your wine for the first time in a metal Kiddush cup.
I agree.
Please.
Tradition's an important thing.
Glasses.
But you can make your Kiddush, other than on the Seder where it sits in the Kiddush cup for a long time, especially for the second cup, you can make Kiddush in a Kiddush cup and then pour it into a glass to taste it. But the wine needs to breathe and the wine needs to be evolved. It's one of the best Israeli wines currently on the market is the Flam Noble 2011. But if you drink it right now, it's inappropriate and it's embarrassing. And the wine needs to evolve and develop, and you have to let it evolve. So what I brought here was a 2011, the Dalton Single Vineyard. It's had a couple years in the barrel. The wine was released, I think, 3 years ago. And to even though it's still not ready to bring, what I brought is what's called a Vinaturi.
Oh, we have been talking about this over the years, and no one's actually bought one in. Not Jay. Now we have one.
So
thank you.
What's best to do is pour it into.
Can we show that up to the camera so people can see if you're watching on our Nachum Segal Net channel?
And I'll do it on the camera if you want to watch how it works. I personally. You can decant the wine, just pour it into the decanter of a wide base and give it some time to air. I got 3
decanters as a wedding present. I don't think I've ever used them properly.
Well, now that we've become friends, you're going to use it all the time.
Okay.
So what this does is it opens up the wine without a decanter. So it gives it a little bit of aeration. Oxygen is bad for wine when it's in the bottle or in the barrel. Well, I mean, in the barrel, it gets a little bit of oxygen. But you don't want to get a wine to get oxidized while it's aging. But once you're ready to drink it, a little bit of oxygen. That's why people swirl the wine a little bit to open it up a little bit. So to further things along, I brought along the Vinaturi. We're going to pour it through. I've heard rumors that ZK's kids like to pour grape juice through the Vinaturi.
Yeah,
he swears by it. I'm skeptical, but everybody.
Does it change your flavor, ZK?
A little more fruity flavor.
Really?
So I'm going to go home and try that this evening. But so let's pour the wine.
Can you let me know how that goes?
I will do that.
I'd like to hear that from you.
For everyone here.
Oh, how fun is this? Okay, I'm sorry. Wait.
I'm going to do it for all 4 cups, so you'll have another chance to do this.
Okay.
So you pour it through, and that noise is basically it's getting a lot of air.
I'm filming this
into the wine, and you try not to spill, which gets harder as the evening gets along. And
this is good. I just made an Instagram video. No, I'm not competing with ZK's videos. This is going to be an Instagram. Did everyone hear that slurping? We're picking that up on the camera, right?
That's not us drinking out of a straw. That's the Vinaturi here.
Vinaturi. How do I pronounce it?
I have a
horrible accent.
Vinaturi. It's Vinaturi, I think.
Here, my friend.
And what we're going to do is we're going to take the steak out of the sous vide machine, as
Alex?
you can see.
Oh, thank you very much.
This is not what it's going to look like.
Yeah, I'll drink.
Oh.
I mean, it's 10 o'clock in the evening, so why not?
Yeah, right.
This is not what the steak is going to look like when it comes out of the sous vide. As I said, I prepared it last night. It's already been. This was just to bring it up to at least somewhat room temperature.
We say it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Someone's making Kiddush somewhere. Okay.
That is true. We're going to take it out.
Okay.
And.
Oh my God, that looks amazing. We're going to have to. Can we see this?
So here you go.
ZK is going to just do a close up.
There you go.
Close up on the steak. Okay, there you go, my friend. Okay, there's your wine. Okay, so
do you have a paper towel?
Maybe out there.
Or a napkin.
A napkin. Yeah, napkin right here.
Oh, here we go. That's fine.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you, Miriam Wallach, for providing us awesome stuff here. We're dabbing.
Well, only because I tried to suck all the air out, but just in case I don't want to.
Okay. Is there a way I'm supposed to cut this?
I assume that you know what you're doing.
I can just go like this through the middle.
If you'd like me to do it, I'm happy to.
Yeah.
I should have brought a bigger carving knife. I brought just a regular steak knife. But
okay. I was just going to split it that way. You know when you see that on those.
So if you want, you can take a look, and this is what I'm talking about. So as you can see, there's a brown only at the very, very top, which was caused by the searing. I did it for about a minute on each side and all around. And the rest of the steak is cooked exactly the same temperature throughout the steak. So assuming this is the type of doneness that you like, it's perfect. If you want to do it medium, you probably want to do 131, 132. But again, Serious Eats has a lot of really great information about sous vide. SeriousEats.com. Chef Steps has some. And spend 10 minutes on the internet, and you'll know
This looks
sufficiently.
amazing.
So I'm,
Enough talking. Let's eat, mate.
all right, so I'm going
Let's
to
eat.
cut a few slices
Okay,
for
Alex,
everyone
are
here.
you going to be fleischig with me?
And then
Of course.
Of course, we don't mind being fleischig.
I did
in the
only bring
morning.
one knife.
Do you know how many times I've come into the studio because I have to prepare a lot of Shabbos food in advance on a Friday morning. Obviously, I'm quite busy.
So I'm assuming you like some fat on it. 'Cause-
Not too much fat. I'm making a wedding in a few weeks. I have to watch what I'm eating.
okay. I mean, this is not where you want to be cutting corners.
So I quite often
another
fleischig on a
plate?
Friday morning because I taste things before I come into work, and then I'm like, uh-oh,
Here you go.
And
And
when they bring the cheesecake.
uh-oh.
cut just a few slices here for people to try.
Oh, this is fun. And then, Alex, we're going to talk to you in a little bit.
And then,
Oh, see,
but I didn't know that Alex can't opine on my cooking. That would be unfair.
This looks
Since-
it looks beautiful, right, Alex?
Yeah.
This is like
So
It's great.
okay. So we're as
There we
Yossi
go.
cuts up the 2-inch cut,
This is, I mean, I think
Yeah,
it's
but
probably more or
always-
less 2-inch ribeye. Yeah.
ribeye prime
prime
where?
grade. To be completely frank, I don't remember. I have a drawer full of 2-inch ribeyes that I've sourced from 10 or 15 different butchers
You can throw some
in the
names out.
tri-state. I've okay. So I mean, I was telling Naomi earlier. For many years, I was buying all of my steaks from Park East Butcher on the Upper East Side,
Right here in Manhattan.
which by far had the highest quality meat I've ever had in my life, including in Israel where I grew up. And but a piece of meat like this, which weighs about 2.5 pounds, probably costs from the butcher $70, which was a lot. Which is a lot, and I decided to do a taste testing. So I've ordered 2-inch ribeyes, prime grade, aged and non-aged, dry aged and non-dry aged, from 10 or 12 different butchers, which includes Park East, Prime Butcher, Easy Kosher, Bradbury, Pomegranate, Rockland Kosher, Prime in Brooklyn.
Have you tried any of Gourmet Glat's meats?
I do not believe I have.
I'm going
but
to hook
happy
you
to
up.
try
I'm
that.
going to hook you up. Gourmet Glat has great meat.
And
They
basically
have
what I'm
beautiful-
doing is
they have
I'm-
prime meat.
And I'm making every steak exactly the same. 3 hours. Again, I said 4 earlier because I took it out frozen. Usually what I'll do is I'll take it out and leave it to defrost during the day. 3 hours in the sous vide at 128 degrees. Pull it out, season it, and I've been doing a taste test, working my way. And La Marais, I forgot to mention.
La
that.
Marais. I
So
love
La
their
Marais has
restaurant. Also
meat.
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so enjoy.
Let's have a
Chaim.
l'chaim. L'chaim. We're going to eat in a little bit. L'chaim, everyone, to good health and all the good things. Okay. Amen. I feel like that was kiddish for us.
The one thing I will say is that you're gonna once you
Oh.
do this at home, you will your options at restaurants will be severely limited, because one thing I can guarantee you is once you buy a really quality piece of prime aged meat and you cook it like this at home, you will never just be able to justify ordering a steak at a restaurant.
Did
ever
I say
again.
that to you when we first met? I said to Alex, I never order steak out.
Right.
I want something else.
You
more
will never
cool
be
and-
able. And again, most restaurants that are serving high-end steaks are using sous vide as their method of cooking. It's just.
Are you?
We don't sous vide.
Do you serve steak? I've never been at the
Of course
restaurant.
we serve steak.
Oh, you're going to go. It's
I said most. Or let me rephrase that to many. As an attorney, I feel obligated to
Whoa.
be as exact as possible. Many places use it because it enables you to cook. It enables you to cook it literally exact,
That is-
doneness throughout, and
No, no.
enables you to leave it in the bag for extra time. Right? It's even. I said it was 3 hours, but you can, if you have a 10-hour workday or a 12-hour workday or a 7-hour
Yeah.
workday, you just leave it in the bag and it doesn't
I
spoil.
love-
It just maintains the thing.
I love this marbling of the meat, and it's all about.
So I'm going to
marbling of the
offer
meat.
people. Nobody has to
Okay.
if they want. Would you
Okay.
like?
Oh,
sure.
Should I cut these into bite-sized pieces?
Yeah, we're going to
so
cut them
people-
down, and then Alex, I want to
And then I'm
talk
gonna
to you.
switch sides
We're
with
going to
Alex.
do a little talk about all about our cheese company that sponsors us. This is Table for Two with Naomi Nachman on the Nachum Siegel Network. Our show is sponsored by Natural and Kosher Cheeses, when quality and flavor matter. We are also heard on Arutz Sheva English Radio. I want to do a quick What's for Dinner segment. Besides doing an amazing sous vide steak, I just want to talk. A lot of side dishes are coming up. People always ask me, especially over the Pesach program, people ask me what side dishes do I make for Shabbat? Because people are always, kugels are fattening and they want to lose weight after Pesach. So I'm a big fan of the grilled vegetables. So which vegetables I love the most? I love asparagus. And you can even buy checked asparagus at Gourmet Glatt. So for our What's for Dinner segment, we are talking about, sponsored by Gourmet Glatt, we're going to talk about asparagus. So I lay all my asparagus out about like 2 big bunches of asparagus because my kids always pick at them Friday afternoon as they're cooling in the kitchen. So I put them on a large cookie sheet. Then I line it with parchment paper. Then I lie all my grilled vegetables, whether it's asparagus or mushrooms or cut up zucchinis. So I'll put all my asparagus across my cookie sheet, season it with kosher salt and fresh crushed garlic. Do not use anything but fresh crushed garlic and kosher salt. A little bit of extra virgin olive oil. I toss it together. I cook it at 400 degrees, actually convection 400 degrees, about 15 minutes, and they become so delicious. And there's never ever leftovers. If there is for some reason leftover, the other week I made such a big amount. I made 2 cookie sheet trays worth. It didn't all get eaten. So I threw some in a salad the next day with some fresh cut up tomatoes, those little yellow Zima tomatoes with cut up pieces of green asparagus. It was really pretty. So that was our What's for Dinner segment, sponsored by Gourmet Glatt. And we're continuing our show today with Alexander Reamer from Fireside in Muncie. I don't know if you had listened to my show about the roundup from KFWE about, when was that? Back in February. Alex's restaurant Fireside made a big splash with a meat pizza. I actually ate it directly at his restaurant, and along with the tumbleweed onions, Alex was going to bring them in, but he wasn't feeling well yesterday. I told him, do not bring anything in. You were sick. You have next time you come in, he's going to come on again and we'll do it again. But Alex has also got a giveaway for us for the Fireside restaurant. We have a gift certificate. Yeah. So if you want to win a gift certificate to Fireside in Muncie, email me, Naomi@nachumsegal.com, and a winner will be chosen in the next 2 weeks, and we will notify you for your win. So we're very excited to have you.
No, thanks for having me on board.
On the show. So let's talk a little bit about your beginnings. When did you start actually cooking? Were you a kid? Did you start older?
Yeah, no, I started in my early 20s.
While we drink our wine.
Right, yeah. Probably. I started when I was about 20 years old.
Okay. What made you decide? You were living on your own?
Right, yeah. I was interested in the arts, and I needed a form of livelihood, and so I was doing a lot of short order cooking.
What short order cooking mean for our listeners that don't know?
Bar and grill stuff. Not, it was fresh food, but it was basically burgers, salads. I would make a bucket of coleslaw, stuff like that. And I had a musical group, and I had some people who were fans of the musical group who were chefs at the Signature Room in Chicago on the 95th floor of the Hancock Building.
Cool.
And so
you were not Orthodox back then.
No, I wasn't Orthodox. So they needed help right before the busy season. They were desperate. So I interviewed with the executive chef there, Mark DeTomasi, and he gave me an opportunity, put me on the line, and I just had a knack for it. And that was, he was a CIA chef, and that was a traditional French kitchen doing continental cuisine. And I was there for a couple of years, and at the end of it there, I was the saucier and the head of the line. And
the line, explain what the line is to our listeners. A line in a restaurant.
Right, so when you're serving food a la minute, the line is basically you have a set of stations that are preparing the dishes that you're going to eat. So, it starts at the most basic, which is the garde manger, which is cold food, salads, all the way up to sauté, which are the more intricate dishes. It includes the grill, or meats, proteins, and the fried veggie station. I guess, they call the kitchen term for it is brigade, that you have a hierarchy in the kitchen and people are performing various duties. And so generally, many people either go to culinary school and then they start by doing prep, or some people start as a dishwasher and they have a knack for it and they work all the way up.
That's cool.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things that impressed me the most, is that in the Signature Room, which was a large kitchen, there was probably like 20, 25 people in the kitchen itself. The kitchen itself was 2,000 square feet. You had South American workers who started as dishwashers and they were sous chefs, and they worked their way up to become executive chefs at other places. When a lot of times you think of these workers that are coming across the border that they're just washing dishes, but a lot of them are really intelligent and talented. And we see in contemporary cuisine that they bring a lot of influences.
Right.
I myself do tacos.
Okay.
Because we used to eat tacos for a family meal. They would make tacos like they made at home, as opposed to having grown up and thinking of a taco as like an Ortega hard shell taco with meat with the seasoning in it.
Right. That's what tacos are to me.
Right. So I experienced from a lot of my coworkers at that time that, you know, the fresh tacos with the fresh corn tortillas and the fresh salsas, the fresh ingredients, and they're delicious. So I put those on the menu at Fireside as you know, having learned those from guys that I worked with in my early days in the kitchen.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you brought a lot of that into Fireside, which I think is really made it. How'd you get the idea of that meat pizza? People, you've got to get up to Fireside. I gave you a shout out a few times after I came to your restaurant, and in the Mishpacha magazine, and after KFWB. But it's so unique, you know. Like it's not just people think meat pizza. They just put sauce and chopped meat on it. You've got like 6 different kinds of. Right? Am I?
Right. Okay, sure. No, I know where you're coming from. Okay, so a lot of it has to do with the way that I grew up. You know, I grew up in Chicago, which happens to be a big culinary city.
Crazy! I was just there twice in the last few months, and I'm going back.
You know, I didn't grow up keeping kosher. You know, I grew up Reform, so I didn't have any dietary limitations, and both my parents influenced me in different directions. My mother was a great cook, and my father. You know, he appreciated those kind of working class. You know, I wouldn't call it a diner today because people think of different things as a diner, but local owned. You know, oftentimes like I had Greek friends and their parents owned restaurants. They weren't Greek restaurants, but they were restaurants, and they had that type of fare where you get the London broil, the steak and eggs. And in Chicago, you had Lou Malnati's pizza.
What's that?
So Lou Malnati's is basically, you know, when people think of the Chicago style deep dish pizza. Lou Malnati's and Gino's East, those are the two names that basically made that reputation, that created that legendary Chicago-style pizza. And that was something that I loved. I mean, that was my favorite pizza, hands down. Lou
my
Malnati's.
Mouth is watering as he's talking about deep dish pizza.
Yeah, no, it's different. When I came to New York and I was looking for the deep dish, it was always the thick crust.
Right, that's what they have. They don't have real deep dish.
Yeah.
Can you make us a real deep dish pizza?
Yeah, of course. That's what we do.
Like a milchik one, though.
Oh, milchiks. Well, yeah, of course. I mean,
not at Fireside because they're fleshik. But
I mean, Stam, of course. Yeah, that's, you know. So that's something that I think a lot of people who come from the non-kosher world into the kosher world are looking to recreate their culinary experiences in a kosher way. Even something as simple as a hamburger. You know, I remember when I first moved to New York, there weren't really good kosher hamburgers. And everybody that I knew, like Chef Mike Gershkovich, he opened up the Amsterdam Burger Company.
Yeah, I love that.
You know,
I love that
everybody was talking about how there's a dearth of these quality foods that we experience in the non-kosher world and the kosher world. And nowadays, I think that's pretty much been, you know, that's the past now, because now you can go eat in a lot of great places.
What's your favorite restaurant outside of Fireside?
Oh, well, right.
Do you get out of your own kitchen?
I hardly ever get out. So, but
he can't answer that.
I do. I like to. I mean, La Marais was my favorite restaurant when I moved to New York City.
We like La Marais. It's a classic.
Yeah,
doesn't change. It's always
right. You know. But besides that, I generally prefer chef-driven restaurants. You know, of course, ETC, Chef Seth Warshaw, who
good.
Really in the kosher world has mentored me. You know, Nobo, Mike's. I staged for a few days at Pardes with Chef Moses.
Oh my God.
You know, those are great. Those are great restaurants. Outside of that, I haven't had too much of an opportunity to just go restaurant hopping.
Oh, we can all go do that. Maybe hop on a plane somewhere. Cool.
Yeah. So you know.
When did you start finding religion?
Okay, so
I think that's part of who you are.
Well, sure. So it was about 4 or 5 years after I started taking cooking seriously. And then I had been introduced to it, you know, and after high school I went to Israel, and then later when I started to become more frum, so I really left the culinary world mostly because I thought the transition would be seamless. You know, I remember when I went to my first interview at a kosher catering company in Chicago, and they saw my resume, and they were really excited, and I was excited. And then I got to work, and I realized that the transition was not going to be seamless. And I really, when I went to Yeshiva University, I put cooking on the back burner. I did work part-time as a prep cook at La Marais and at Levana's.
Levana, she's been a guest here. She's very talented.
I thought she would even remember. It was part-time. It was at YU. You know, I would go for...
You were a student there?
Yeah, it was I'd go for 4 hours a couple days a week. But then, that changed a little bit, I guess, because when I got there, it was like you would go to Mr. Broadway, which is a great restaurant, but where I was coming from, it was just too much of a transition in terms of I was looking for a certain kind of kitchen that didn't really exist so much in the kosher world. Maybe I don't know when the Prime Grill opened, but you just don't have the size. You don't have the customer base to promote, a kitchen where you have 30 guys in the kitchen, and you have an executive chef, and you have 4 sous chefs, and you have, the garmager, the big garmager, and then you have the little, who's putting out the brunch for 300 people. It just wasn't, I didn't find that. But what I did find later was, and this I found with ETC, with Chef Seth Warshaw, is the thing that attracted me to working in the kitchen was how comparable it was going from, say, a recording studio or a visual arts studio into cooking into a kitchen. It was like the same thing. Like, it was easy for me to spend 13 hours in a recording studio.
Do you sing or play?
I play, and I compose.
What do you play?
Guitar, primarily.
Cool.
But the thing is I could spend 13 hours in a recording studio and it would go by like that. If I spent 4 hours filing data, I would go crazy.
Right, like we can be in the studio for 50 minutes and 50 seconds, what we're up to now, and it's gone like that.
Right. So when I got into a kitchen, really a specific kind of kitchen. I mean, like a chef's kitchen. Or the kind of kitchen, that you would, like a formal kitchen, was the same thing. I could spend 13 hours in the kitchen
and it goes like that. You should have
So-
seen the kitchens at our Pesach Hotel.
Right.
It
I'm
was
sure it was
not
fantastic.
normal at the Trump. Oh my God, at the Doral, it was unbelievable. The Garmager kitchen was like a whole massive
Right.
setup.
The presidential Trump. The
Yeah,
presidential.
yeah. We're staying not political.
Right.
We're not political.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm not political.
Right, I wasn't being political. I just think it's
I
funny.
actually
but yeah.
I became a citizen 4 years ago, so now I can vote. Yay.
Oh, Mazel Tov. Okay,
yeah. I
that's
was
great.
actually really super excited when that happened.
So with Chef Warshaw, I suddenly found myself in a kosher kitchen. And not only was it a kosher kitchen, but it's a small kosher kitchen, almost like I would call it like a boutique, where he was pushing the envelope in the kosher world. And he was cooking using the techniques and adapting new techniques. And it was basically the kind of disciplined, creative environment that I was looking for. And so I stayed with Seth. I tried to branch out a couple of times, looking for, the right fit with owners and different restaurants. I wound up working with Seth for about 3 years on the line.
Cooking on the line.
Yeah, which is, that's basically, if I would just say if anybody is interested in becoming a chef, then you have to work on the line. You just have to do it. There's no way, I know a lot of people who went to like the kosher culinary school, and then
It's not around
I know,
anymore.
it's unfortunate,
So sad. It gave parnassa to so many kids and young people that were looking for something to do.
My sous chef, Chef Mikey Berger, that's not really his name, but he was from the early graduating classes there. He's great. But a lot of people come out and they think that they're going to go from culinary school straight into being a chef, and really. Now, I personally didn't go to culinary school, and really,
you didn't?
No,
So you didn't. You worked on the line. I also didn't go.
Yeah, everybody, right? Most people, you don't have to go to culinary school. I think it helps because it fills gaps, but going to culinary school and working in a kitchen on the line is not the same thing.
Right, you have to be in it. You got to sweat it. You got to do it. You got to.
Yeah,
I didn't work on a line, and I didn't go to culinary school. I just took.
Okay, but
so I created my own line, and I was the
Right, you have your own niche, which is good. Also, I mean, that's like listening to Yossi with food and everything. I mean, he has you guys have the luxury to educate yourselves and to execute food. It's different when you have to execute that steak for 200 people in 4 hours. So, that's basically the only thing is the intensity of working in a kitchen.
That's what.
I tell my wife, my wife, I have 4 kids. My wife can cook for Shabbos 3-course dinners in 2.5 hours with like 6 dishes. I cook for these weekly Rosh Chodesh clubs. I have 5 dishes. I'm up till 2 o'clock in the morning every night for 5 days, and at the end, the kitchen looks like a tornado hit it. I couldn't do that. I couldn't cook for real. I cook for fun.
Right. That's real cooking, sir, for sure.
This is what I saw at my Pesach program. It's about the execution.
Yeah.
You can cook fantastic food, but if you can't plate it and get it out there as a caterer or a chef or a restaurant, even to your family, like I learned a lot this year about execution. It's got to be from the oven to the family member, customer, consumer, whatever, beautifully done. And it can't get cold. Right?
Right. Yeah. Which is why I like restaurant cooking much more than catering. I like the whole a la minute experience.
What's it? Say it again. A
la minute. Like you're making it to order.
Say it slowly.
A la minute.
A la minute. Have you heard of that before? Of course you have, right?
Yeah, because the food was cooked
in a minute.
You ordered it before. It wasn't prepared in advance.
Okay. I have not heard that term before.
Yeah. That's that's personally my most favorite kind of cooking. And we try, and at Fireside, we basically try to make everything as fresh as possible. And we do almost everything in-house. I think, our hamburger buns, I'm not going to say where we get them from, but we get them from a really great place. But outside of that, almost nothing is sourced.
Cool.
Except for the ingredients.
Right, of course. I love those tumbleweed. We spoke about like the meat pizza. His steaks are great. Everything's... but I've never ever seen the tumbleweed onions anywhere else. It's red onions that are battered and deep fried. It sounds so simple.
Right.
But it's not. It is not an onion ring as you know it. It's really something.
Right.
It's like in a buttermilk, and I put that in quotes.
Right.
Buttermilk.
It's a power buttermilk, and it's not battered. We just dredge it in cornstarch.
Can I ask what you use for powdered buttermilk? I'm just curious.
Yeah. It's a ratio.
It's a secret.
Well, no. I mean, listen, right. Go to Google. Look up kosher buttermilk.
Because I'm looking for
it's
chicken.
It's a combination of vinegar and soy milk, and whatever ratio you want to use, you can figure it out.
To try it.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, obviously we have a ratio we use, but people just do. Yeah. No, it's not. I mean,
trying to make fried chicken, to bring over fried chicken. I've yet to be.
Oh right, yeah.
You know who used to make a really good fried chicken and waffles? It's now closed. Gotham Burger. Avi Roth once was on my radio show, and then he invited me to come for lunch afterwards. And he made a fried chicken and waffle on the fried chicken. It was the most moistest. I don't know how to say that so well. My grandma's gone today from the red wine. The most moist fried chicken I've ever had on a red velvet waffle, and then we poured maple syrup over it. It was like brilliant, simple, brilliant.
Right. Well, they're still open in Teaneck.
Right, I know, but I don't know if they're doing that there. But yeah, okay. It's great. So, anything next? We've got a spring menu, a summer menu coming up.
So we have part of our menu changes seasonally. We have the staples, which are the steaks, and we use only like you were saying, we use only prime meat. We get from Alley, and we butcher down the whole 103. So
what does that mean?
That means we get the whole rib, and we butcher it down ourselves. And
cool, very nice.
It's all prime. I'm sorry, what?
The whole kosher.
Well, yeah, right. What do you mean the whole kosher rib?
You guys have nicker meat? You guys have...
No, we have it's the 103. It's the long bone, right? Yeah, exactly.
What is 103? What does that mean? What's that technical
it's
term?
The length of the bone on the rib. The rack has 7 bones on it, but if you get say like a 109, that the short rib has been removed. We get the 103 that includes the short rib, so we butcher our own short ribs also.
So I just, some of my listeners are not so familiar with all the different technologies of cutting up the meat, so to speak.
Bandsaw. Pretty old school.
Ah, cool.
Yeah. I mean, right. Maybe in a couple of years we'll have lasers, but right now it's the bandsaw.
Cool.
And so we had currently, let's see, we're changing things up in terms of, the soups change seasonally. Right now we're running a sunchoke puree.
Love it. Sunchokes are in.
Yeah, with a horseradish mousse, which is, really tasty.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
We were doing...
Let's go afterwards.
So we were doing I called it a red pepper bisque. Technically, a bisque is a seafood, is a creamy seafood. We were doing it with red peppers. We also have chicken ladolamono, which is a Greek-style chicken. We were serving it with white asparagus, but right now we're serving it with charred spring onions. So, and the desserts are changing. And then we're coming up with some other new items. We want to experiment with fish a little bit. Fish is obviously something in the kosher world that
People are very timid from fish.
Yeah. And by the way, I just want to say this because I did eat at Noble once, and Chef Josh Masson does excellent fish dishes.
Talented. He's so talented. Oh my gosh. This has been an amazing show.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me on board.
Oh, my pleasure. We were very happy to have you. We hope you'll come back and
for sure, yeah.
We'll have a taste. Maybe we'll have you guys on together. We should do a cooking demo, like a real hands-on cooking demo.
I'm intimidated to cook with real chefs. So
well, if he sous vide the meat and somebody gives me a blowtorch, I'll sear it.
Okay, we actually had Ari White in here with a blowtorch, and see that sign? It says no smoking.
Ari. I went to YU with Ari.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay,
we're great
cool.
friends.
Okay, very cool. He's a friend and a frequent guest on the show also.
Cool stuff with charcuterie and different curing and things like that.
Yeah.
I cure my stuff in a fridge under my desk at work, so I hope none of my...
I wonder what's going on in the fridge over there in the office. Okay, this is Table for Two with Naomi Nachman on the Nachum Siegel Network. Our show is sponsored by Natural and Kosher Cheeses, where quality and flavor matter. If you have missed any of our shows, you can catch them on the archives on nachumsiegel.com. We've got music sponsored by our friends at Kedem right up until Lichtbenching. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. See you next week. Great guest lineup next week.